So I'm a few months late on getting this review video out, but it shouldn't matter because a lot of people still haven't received this kit yet. What's up everyone, thank you and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at a very special kit, the Perfect Grade Unleashed RX-78-2. Let's check it out. So if you were following me already, I pretty much only built this kit while I was on stream. I pretty much only worked on this kit while I was live streaming, with the exception being if I built an arm already on stream, I would build the other arm off stream, just so it's not that repetitive. But all in all, I think we had a total of 9 separate streams, all of them averaging between an hour and a half to 2 hours. So that's probably a total time of, we'll just say 15 to 20 hours, that's probably easier. Now the build itself was not that bad at all. In fact, it was really fun. Definitely cool seeing it built from the bottom up, starting with the subframe, then adding on the metal accents, and topping it off with the armor. If you didn't know, there are also some 3D stickers that come with the kit that are on here, as well as some metal parts and some photo etch parts. So I definitely thought that was a cool idea for Bandai to do. It seems like what they were trying to do was make it so a builder would want to customize it less. And I say that because usually photo etch parts, LEDs, metal parts, all those things are different things that people will do to add onto their kit to give it some more detail. But thankfully, it all comes with the kit this time. So yeah, it was pretty much a straightforward build, except for one thing. But that one was definitely on me, and hopefully it does not happen to you. In terms of color separation, we do get a little bit of variety, probably just a little bit more than the Master Grade RX-78 3.0. Of course, we're gonna have some variations in the different shades of white that you may be able to see here, and some of the blue areas are gonna be a little darker than the others, as well as the red areas right here. Even the yellow areas have some areas that are a little bit darker than the other areas. We're gonna have some chrome areas here that are completely shiny. I don't know if you can tell here, but that is going to be somewhat of a champagne gold accent on the side of the knee. And in some areas, like here under the chest armor, we will have some coated silver parts. Now I'm going to tell you right now, if you're hoping to see this without the armor on, I'm not going to do that this video just because it takes so much time to take everything off and then put it back on. But it does look cool without the armor. Another area this thing does excel in are the different panel lines. You can look all over the armor and there's going to be plenty of areas that you can fill in with some panel liner. I think it looks pretty good without, especially if you get the kit under some proper lighting, but there's definitely room to improve it. One thing I did notice that my perception may be skewed on because I've built so many high grades of this guy is that his proportions look a little bit chunky to me. In my opinion, he has forearms that are a lot like Popeye, where they're huge here, way bigger than his bicep. The hands themselves do seem a little bit big, and the legs don't seem as long and slender as they traditionally are. The legs themselves are a good size, it's just they've got some thickness to them this time around. But yeah, the main thing for me are the arms, and even looking at it now, the shoulders do seem a little bit small, but I don't think that's too much of a problem. Another new thing that we see with this kit specifically are that the shoulders do have a little bump right here on the top. Not entirely sure why they added that to the kit, but I think it blends in well enough to look normal. Now, gimmicks with this kit. There's a lot. And that's because there's 74 different hatches that can open up. I think it's 74, it might be 72, it's 70 something. But yeah, I'm gonna try to open up as much as I can on each side and we'll see how that goes. So we have the shoulders here, those open up on both sides like so. There is a hatch on the bicep that opens there. There's a sliding door on the back of the forearm that opens up. There's a hatch on the inside of the forearm that opens up. And there's some more of that coated metal looking part that you can see there. We have hatches that open up on both sides of the head. The top of the head will open up as well. On the chest, this top part will open up a little bit. I feel like it opened up more before. I believe this top chest part opens up. There we go. The cockpit, of course, opens up. You do have to give it a little bit of space. On the front skirt armor, this part slides out like so, and the yellow piece also opens up to to the inside, and that can be repeated on each of the 4 skirt panels, including on the back. On the leg, there's a hatch here, there's a hatch here, hatch on the knee, hatch below the knee, hatch on the side of the calf, hatch on the other side of the calf, hatch on the back of the shin, 2 hatches on the ankle armor, and hatch on the foot. And don't forget about the backpack. On the backpack, the top opens up, and there's 2 hatches that open up on either side. I'm probably missing a lot of hatches, but for the most part, that is a majority of them. Another thing this kit can do, much like the Master Grade, the top portion splits off to reveal the core. Now we do have this standard core unit right here. This one's more so just a core block. Inside it, you can see the pilot, and you can actually pull it up to get a better view of the pilot right there. However, we do also get a core fighter that can plug into the same slot. Before I do that, let me give you a look at the core fighter itself. Here we have the core fighter. It's pretty standard, decent size, and it comes with its own landing gear. The very first thing I did notice about this are the wing flaps are very loose. It's kind of hard to keep them in the same position. Specifically, the right one was having an issue for me, or is it the left part of the core fighter? This booster actually got stuck on the legs. But yeah, so to transform it, we just push the landing gear back in. We can cover the landing gear up by pushing the wings in and folding them back. Then we are going to tuck the nose in and fold it downward. And there we have our core block. So it's a little similar to the one that doesn't transform. However, you will notice that the window for this one does not go as high up, so you can't really see the pilot inside. One thing that is neat is that there is a mechanism that makes the pilot turn upward when you fold it in. As you can see, his hand's right there, so he's facing this way, much like this pilot, but you just can't see him from here. Now we can stick this on the legs right here, and it does have this weird curve-ish to the front. I don't think it has it that much with the core block. However, we should still be able to put this on top of it. There we go. So yeah, they're pretty much interchangeable. You can use whichever one you prefer, but if you happen to be displaying it with the cockpit open, you won't be able to see the pilot. Also, I would recommend inserting the core block, that way you can display the core fighter instead. And lastly, one of the final gimmicks this kit does have are LEDs. The LED unit for this kit is kind of interesting in that there's no hard switch to turn it on and off. In fact, what you have to do is this. Did you catch it? You have to do it like this. If I turn the lights out, maybe you'll get a better picture. You can kind of see the LEDs in the eyes right there, and I'm going to do that motion again. Now they change colors. I think there's 3 different modes. This one cycles from yellow to purple, and the chest vents should go from, I think they're just red. However, there is heavy emphasis on doing that quickly. If you hold it too long, the LEDs actually turn off. So you do have to be quick with the motion to make sure the LEDs turn on properly. This mode looks like it's a boot up sequence. It starts blue, then it goes to yellow, and the chest vents are also yellow. Each mode stays on for, I believe, 1 minute. There is another LED in the kit, but we'll talk about that now that we're onto the weapons. First up is going to be our beam rifle. This one is actually pretty big. It feels very chunky, much like the rest of the kit. It does have somewhat different articulation than a standard beam rifle. Most of that is going to be in the camera. So the camera does have that side-to-side swivel motion that we usually see on a beam rifle. However, on the top of that swivel, we also have a point where we can turn it, and we can also turn the camera forward after that. So it creates this 90-degree angle turn. It doesn't really push it to the left that far, but it does make a worthy enough difference. The magazine area, or whatever you want to call this part, does have a little bit of forward and back articulation. I'm not sure when that would come in handy, but it's there if you need it. One cool thing about this rifle is the trigger does have its own articulation. As you can see there, the trigger is unpulled, then we can pull it back, and to reset it, we actually turn this little knob right here, and there it is back in its original position. Up next, we have 3 different beam sabers. 3 is kind of a weird number for a kit, but there's a reason why. These 2 are going to be exactly the same, very standard beam saber handles. However, I will note these do look most like lightsabers, probably more than any other RX-78-2 beam saber handles. This one, however, is a little bit different, and not just because it has the beam effect part in it, but there's a switch here that says on, and what that does is turns on the LED. That actually showed a lot brighter on camera than I expected. And just to add a little emphasis, let's turn out the lights, and there we go. Off, on, off, on. When the beam saber is off, you can kind of push it in without pushing the switch up, and it does turn on from time to time, but that shouldn't be a big deal. Now there is another thing with this specific beam saber handle that could have been handled very well, but was implemented very poorly, and that is when you plug this into the backpack, it's supposed to make the thrusters glow. Now don't get me wrong, it does make it glow, it's just, we'll see if you can tell the difference. Here it is with the beam saber off, and here it is with it on. Not much different, right? Let's turn out the lights. Here it is with the beam saber off, and here it is with it on. Like, you can barely tell there's a light in there. I even tried a new battery for this beam saber handle, and that is pretty much what to expect from it. At least it looks nice with the beam saber effect part. And lastly, probably one of the coolest parts of the entire kit is the shield. We do have a rail that this connection can slide upon. We have some handle-like things here at the top that you can take out pretty easily. We have our handle down here that we can pivot back and forth. The connection point for the shield actually has a decent amount of articulation. You can kind of just maneuver it anywhere you want, to the point where I don't even know which way is correct. I'll just leave it like that. So we have this peg here. We can actually plug this into the backpack. Now on the backpack, there is this piece right here that we actually have to open up the top hatch and flip this around, and that will reveal the hole. Once that hole is revealed, we can plug the shield in like so, and it stays in pretty securely. I mean, I'm not worried about it at all. On the front, we do have this somewhat glass piece. It's not actual glass, it's just plastic. It's a little window to see through when the RX-78 is behind the shield. And on the backside, we also have a visor-like thing to cover it up. One thing I didn't like about the shield is this clear plastic part does tend to pop out a little bit. Well, maybe not right now. But when I was building it, I was definitely having a hard time, and if you don't believe me, go ahead and check the stream replay because I was getting pretty annoyed. But by far the coolest thing about this shield is going to be this little piece right here. Now it looks like a random piece of metal, but it's not just any metal, it's a magnet. So you remember those hatches on the back of the arm that we showed earlier? We can pop that up, and we have a little plastic dome right here. What that plastic dome is covering is actually another magnet, and we can slot the shield magnet into that spot, and it holds it there pretty sturdily. Now I wouldn't go shaking it around, it definitely is not that strong, and it could have been stronger, but I think what we have should be enough for most people. So yeah, it stays onto the arm. The shield itself is a little bit heavy, so if I'm holding it like this, it kind of wants to drag the arm down a little bit, but it still holds it there. Let's see. Yeah, it still stays in place pretty well. And that's it for the weapon, so let's take a look at the last few accessories with this kit. First off, here is the sticker sheet for those 3D colored stickers. They are somewhat metallic, so it's like a metallic red and green, and the stickers that are missing are the only stickers that the manual actually tells you to apply. The rest of them are technically duplicates that you can use on this kit, you can use on a different kit, or you can, I don't know, paint a picture with it. I don't have the sheet for the photo etch parts anymore because you do actually use all of the photo etch parts on this kit. And here are the clear stickers for this kit, which is somewhat of a disappointment because if you're spending this much on a kit, you do kind of want to have water slides that come with it. And lastly, we have our sets of hands. We have a closed fist hand, we have a beam saber hand, we have a trigger finger hand, and we have an open palm hand. Now, some people were pretty disappointed with the fact that this kit does not come with posable fingers. I for one think it's better this way because the beam saber and the shield are so heavy. Having posable fingers would probably make it difficult to keep it in place. And fixed position hands are just way more sturdy, and honestly, they're gonna make the fingers look a lot better than I could. So that's it for the weapons and accessories. I don't want to exactly bore you with an entire articulation analysis of this kit, so I'm just gonna talk to you guys about the points that I don't like. I'm going to contradict myself and say that this part is really cool. You can lift this shoulder flap up to give the arm a little bit more room to turn upwards. However, my negative con about this is that the arm cannot fully go up, like in the last shooting pose. So it's weird that we have such an iconic pose that the RX-78-2 is known for, and this perfect grade Unleashed edition can't even do that pose, without twisting the arm around, that is. Naturally, we can just turn it like this and have the shoulder armor upside down, but that always looks very strange. When the armor isn't on the legs, the articulation is actually pretty good, but when you have the armor on, it's pretty limited because they start hitting certain areas like this. However, there is a mechanism in the waist where we can spread this part out, and that gives the legs a little more room to kick upward. You didn't see that. And we get a decent knee bend, but it's not full. And I will say that bending the knees on this can be pretty difficult. I don't think anything would break if you bent it too hard, but it just feels like you're gonna break something. The joints are very stiff, which can be a good thing, but it is kind of nerve-wracking bending it for that first time. Another interesting area is the foot. We have a decent amount of articulation here where the toe can point upwards. If we continue that motion, it does pull the heel along with it to give somewhat of a more natural foot motion right there. The biggest con about this area is it doesn't actually seem to be able to go that far forward. That's pretty much all we're gonna get from the toe action, so if we're trying to do a forward lunge, we can't really go that deep into it. One thing about the chest is the vents can be maneuvered up and down. However, I did find that these are pretty loose, so if you want them in a very specific position, it's probably going to give you a hard time trying to keep them there. On the shoulders, the shoulder armor does move up in 2 joints. We took a look at that earlier when we were looking at the different hatches. The bicep is very standard. I wish it would bend a little bit more, but it runs into that armor problem again. These forearms are just so big. On the backpacks, the vents do go around a little bit, and if we move these hatches up, we can also bend them up a little further. These pegs where the beam sabers go can be maneuvered around a little bit, but I do find that one of them at least is pretty loose compared to the other. One thing I did forget to mention with the beam rifle is there is a slot on the back of the waist armor. We can turn this somewhat cylinder thing around and it reveals a slot down here. After that is revealed, we can pull out this peg on the beam rifle. This part has me a little bit nervous because it is a little tough to get out and it's a gold coated part, so it feels like you might scratch the coating off as you're doing this. You know what? I think I'm opening it from the wrong side. There we go. So yeah, we can take that peg and plug it into the back of the waist like so. And it's somewhat sticking out a decent amount, but it's on there. That's pretty much all I had on the articulation for this kit. Overall, it's decent. I wouldn't say it's extraordinary. Definitely lacking a bit considering the price, but I think we'll be able to get over it. So now let's take a look at what kind of shots we can get with this guy. And there we have it. There's the RX-78-2 in all of its glory. We're going to answer a couple more questions and that should be it. First question, what do I not like about this kit? So I stated a few of them before. Going from top to bottom, the beam saber handle is pretty loose on the backpack peg. The shoulder doesn't allow us to do the last shooting pose, which is the most iconic pose for the RX-78-2. The LED gimmick is a little bit annoying because you have to be quick to turn it on and it only lasts for a minute. I wish they could have used some kind of remote system or something, maybe even just a switch that you open it up and turn it on or something. One thing that was plaguing me the entire review is that this torso likes to pop off on its own. That's not really good, especially when you are handling it like for this review. The proportions are all right. I'm not really too big a fan of them, but I think in the end, I'm at least satisfied. I wish we could see some more foot articulation, that way we can get some deeper lunge poses. I hope they come out with a bazooka for this guy. I don't know if the original perfect grade bazooka will work for this kit. It might, but I don't have one to try out, so I'm not sure. And lastly, this kit doesn't have an action base, so There's not that many poses you can do with this kit, and it doesn't fit a standard action base one. You either have to leave it in a standing pose, kneeling pose if you can, or make your own action base. Now with the Master Grade Extreme Unicorn, I did try to rationalize it into the different parts that came with the kit. With this, it looks like they took a re-engineered perfect grade RX-78-2, slapped on some metal parts, LEDs, colored metallic stickers, and photo etch parts, and marked it up like 50% or so. So I do appreciate that they added all the new things to this kit. However, I'm not sure $300 and up is the right price for this. Considering how much we get compared to something like the Perfect Grade 00 Riser or the Perfect Grade Strike, it doesn't seem like we're getting that much with this kit, so I'm not too sure that the price is right so far. But it's not a definite no. To conclude my review, I will say that this kit isn't for everyone. It's not necessarily a good kit to have, but it is a fun kit to have. This will probably serve somewhat as a centerpiece to my collection, mostly because it's the most expensive model I have, but at least it looks really great snapped out of the box. So that's gonna be it for the review, guys. Thank you for sticking with me this long. I don't know how long this has been, but it seems like it's gonna be a long review. If you haven't already, don't forget to join the Discord using the link down below in the description. In there, we talk a lot about Gunpla, upcoming releases, thoughts about different kits, tips and tricks on different things that you are trying out when you are building, tool recommendations and kit recommendations, and Gunpla memes. So if any of those interest you, feel free to join the Discord like I said. If you liked the video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, and if you want to see more reviews, more tool reviews, unboxings, other Gunpla stuff, subscribe to the channel and there will be plenty more to come. We're almost wrapped up on season 1 with season 2 starting in a month and some change. So hopefully we can get some big things popping. But in the meantime, hopefully you guys can find a cheaper kit than this and start building.